Hi, guys. Welcome back to Freedom Brigade Nation. We are honored to have Jeffrey Prather with us today. For those of you that don't know, Jeffrey's just a badass, right? To like give the long list of what he is, he's a retired special operations officer, former DIA intelligence collector, ex-DEA special agent, targeted by the deep state, turned whistleblower, and now America's intelligence officer. Thank you for joining us, Jeffrey.
Thanks for having me.
That's really awesome. I don't know. Have you guys seen, and I know that we've got Jeffrey on to talk about some stuff, but I was really excited with some of what's happening this week. Like today, Trump met with his cabinet members. Uh, I'm excited. I'm excited that we've got Kash Patel, we got Hegseth, but guys, he put Bongino in place. I mean,
Mhm.
who thought that Patel would have brought Bongino in? I'm just excited. And then we've got our friend Bernadette Smith in
Mm-hmm.
Michigan that got the vice chair. You guys, this movement that is happening across the country is a God-led movement. It's a nameless, faceless movement, but the tables are being flipped. What's happening in the church is happening in the GOP, and it's just a flipping over of the establishment, and truth is coming out, and the power is going to the people where it always should have been. And we're
Amen.
seeing it across the country too. I think it's beautiful.
And Pastor Bernadette Smith will hopefully be on our show next week. I've spoke to her, but she
Yes,
flipped tables, and for a long time she was one of those good guys that
yeah,
they just would slander and try to push out, and they didn't want her to have any type of power whatsoever. But
right,
she's a big reason why Michigan went for Trump, because she's been pushing. She basically unified the Christians and the Muslim parents who were against all this trans BS going on in the schools
right.
with the kids. She really unified a lot of people to say enough is enough, and they all came out and started supporting Trump, because once you come after their kids, that's enough. It's too much. So in Michigan, she's a hero in my opinion, what she's done up there.
Oh, she's awesome. One thing that I'm learning very quickly is that the rhinos and the Democrats have the same playbook. If you start being effective, they start attacking you. They whine like little kids, and then they start just it's a victim mentality,
Mm-hmm.
and they're constantly and they attack you for these stupidest things. It's consistent. The Democrats and the rhinos have the same playbook, and you can always tell who's who. So Jeffrey, you had a interesting intro that I just thought was so deep with some of the stuff you say. And every time I have a conversation with you, I walk away like just thinking about it for a few days, stuff that you say. But I just want to highlight a couple things because you're going to love this too, Andrea. He says, to know future, study past. To understand human nature, learn divine. That right there. To the secrets are in scripture, nature, and history. And he goes on. I'm not going to repeat everything he said, but this was particularly because we've talked about this, Andrea.
Mm-hmm.
Ego engineered evil in a disconnected devil, which
Mm-hmm.
pride, which was the first sin, continues to be what kills us everywhere, in the church, in the political realm, in the world. It's when people get jealous, want it to be about them, don't want to actually get something done because it's their ego. Then he
Mm-hmm.
says the first sin is a passive, unprotected Adam permitting the first psyop.
Yeah.
Toxic masculinity, right? They like automatically he's just smiling like to me it's so simple.
Preach it,
But
Jeffrey.
No, not enough masculinity. Is it?
Yeah.
Adam didn't
that's
say
what
anything.
we're
Presumably, if you read between the lines, he was right there when the Nahash, poorly translated as the serpent. The Nahash actually means the burning one. Actually, the word Nahash, the sizzling one, um, was seducing Eve, and
Mm-hmm.
he should have protected her and
Mm-hmm.
led her. But I've also got some good news, breaking news. I'll break it on your show right now. Jeremy Brown is out. My
yes.
friend, Special Forces Green
Jason,
Beret, Jeremy Brown has been released. I don't know if you knew that or not. It just happened today.
Awesome.
that's awesome. That is awesome. I didn't know that. um okay, then he goes on to say basic weapons is body, the ultimate is the mind, the battlefield is in the soul. Gain the mind, win the soul. So anyway, I won't go into everything he said, but it's You guys, this is a spiritual battle. This is what I'm constantly saying, and he just said it a lot more eloquently than I ever could, and it's impressive and it's deep. But you said rulers write history, heroes define it, and martyrs make it. And then to some of the St. Valentine history. But I don't know if you guys can hear that. The helicopters just went over us really low, and it's exciting.
What's going on in Oklahoma?
I don't know. They're always here. I don't know.
Jeffrey Prather's on your show. They know. They're overhead.
Well, I had Jake Lang on a while back before he got released, and he one time he was coming on and couldn't make it. He got thrown in the lockup again in the hot box, and he said it was because he had come on my show. So yeah, they're still looking at me after all these years.
There's certain people that Tom and I always talk about that when they come on our show, some reason the feed will just get cut off, and some reason we'll just get booted off all the platforms. So you're on that list, and that what we started with in our intro talking about Pastor Bernadette Smith too. Anyone who gets attacked by the deep state, that's your discernment. That's how you know who the good guys are. And Jeffrey, you've been attacked more than pretty much anyone.
Yeah,
I've had my share. Yes.
Yeah. You scared the deep state. They definitely don't want Jeffrey Prather on anyone's podcast.
No.
That's why we love you so much.
Truth going to come out. Well, we were talking about the pardons, Jeffrey, last time that we were discussing. We were saying that the Biden pardons, and we've discussed this too, Andrea, don't really lack. They don't have what it takes for them to be legitimate for about 10 different reasons. If you break it down, they don't meet. But Trump's pardons have been legitimate, and yet have you noticed that they're not being observed? Do you know we still have J6ers in prison?
Yeah.
Now, there's not very many of them, but why do you think that? How can they continue to get away with this?
Well, they just aren't following the Constitution at all. I thought Jeremy would be the last to be released because he called out the FBI before January 6th, showing that it was a conspiracy because special forces run source ops. So I thought he'd be the last, but that's great that he is out now. But it's all political, and some of them, of course, they're shooting at traffic stops. But those are the modern martyrs, in my estimation, and that's just going to make everything stronger, and they're going to make the American empire, just like the Roman Empire, fall all the sooner.
Yeah, it's interesting now with a lot of these. Thank God, with them being released. But what I love about it is now they're coming out and telling a story of what really happened that day. And we're getting that information from the firsthand people who've gone through this hell. And they're talking about, the FBI doing this and that, and the FBI putting this and that out about me. I mean, the lies and the way that these people and their families were attacked, it was coordinated. This wasn't an accident. These, like we always say with coincidences. But I mean, even like the Proud Boys guys coming out, I mean, there's controversy and you can say what you want about them, but I love the fact that they now are going on shows and talking about what they've actually been through. Like we can actually hear from them instead of them being,
there's 1,500 plus eyewitnesses to the conspiracy, to the cover up.
Exactly.
That's why they never wanted them out. That's why they would try to kill them off. And now they're going to have to deal with all that. And yeah, you're right about the pardons. To get back to it, I had a show with Mark Buser, who did all 96 of Trump's cases. A lot of them settled out of court because you always want to settle out of court before you get to court. Like with my stuff, I was never charged. I was never convicted because I had a great attorney who liked me, who believed in me, and always settled it before it ever got to court. But Biden's pardons are invalid because he says this should not be considered an offense, and a pardon by definition has to be for an offense committed. So they are invalidated. Where my guest, Mark Muser, said, he's a constitutional attorney, said very clearly that pardons were actually to heal the nation. And this was a Washington quote. So, when you're doing law, you want to go back and look at precedent. Whether it's criminal law or civil law, precedent is how the law has been decided, That's how you
Right.
build your case. And the president even goes back to Washington, to General and then President Washington, where he says the pardons should be used, as Jay meant them to be used, to heal the nation. And in the event, and how it was used is in the Whiskey Rebellion for the insurrection. And I highlighted when I had him on, I put up his articles and highlighted the term insurrection because, of course, that's what the left said the conspiracy was, J6 and insurrection. So Trump's pardons are rock solid constitutional, quoted by Washington himself as valid.
I think that's my favorite thing because Tom Renz did a deep dive on Doge and the legitimacy there because everyone was running around saying, everyone's running around saying Elon can't do what he's doing, right? Well, then these attorneys, Tom went to work and he just dug deep and you can look at his Twitter and his Substack. He's been putting out information and Elon actually shared it because it is rock solid. They dotted every I and crossed every T. What they're doing is completely legitimate and completely by the Constitution. It's just you're going to have obviously that opposition, and the media was trying to say that, they're breaking laws. No, they're not. No, Trump and Elon are completely legitimate in what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Let's go, Doge.
I'm excited about it. Every time you turn on the news, it's like Christmas again. They've done something else. They've uncovered something else. I learned on Jeffrey's show, though, from Mark, that Doge has an expiration date. Did you know that?
No.
I didn't know that. I think that's impressive.
Yeah.
That says a lot about the integrity of our president and how he's trying to really institute what our founding fathers originally intended. Correct? I mean, it's not supposed to be something that just goes forever, unlike the term limits of our senators and representatives. I find that to be interesting.
Well, and what's going on in the courts, every single morning we're seeing headlines of, this being in the courts, and some of these judges are pretty corrupt. We're seeing that. We're seeing the corruption within our courts. But there's was it Spicer versus Biden? He was fired. Biden came in and fired a bunch of guys, and Spicer ended up taking it to court and won. So there was a precedent set by Biden. So I loved it. He was on, what show was he on? And they were just laughing about it because Biden did all this. Biden was the first to go in and do it unlawfully. And it actually was precedent in court that says you can't do it that way. That's not what Trump's doing. They're trying to say that Trump's doing that. But the precedent was set by Biden himself that it's actually lawful, these changes that are made by Doge.
And the biggest precedent that was set was going after a former president. So now Pedo Joe cannot pardon himself.
Yeah, exactly.
But that remains to be seen. That remains to be seen of whether the rule of kings is kings don't kill kings, because then you're not a king, you're a king killer. So is he going to go after Hillary? Is he going to go after Biden and Obama? And my feeling is that he has to. If we are going to return to a one-tier justice system, then you have to go after the most egregious of the two-tier justice system. And so that's why I had Mark on, and besides all the great stuff, I was saying, well, is the DOJ and the Attorney General, because I knew Janet Reno, I worked with Paul Charlton, I've worked with tons of assistant United States attorneys on cases. Is that going to happen? And he was saying not anytime soon. And if you want, I can try and play that section for you right now.
Pull that up.
Okay, let me pull that up.
Yeah, I loved Dan Bongino putting out the stuff on Hillary too. How none of them wanted to work for her because it was so bad, and it's like all this stuff is coming out. Okay, here we go.
Oh, you
got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh, we just need the sound.
I can't hear it.
Can you hear it?
Nope.
Nope. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know why you can't. I'm hearing it. So he's saying it's going to be very difficult to get that through because they're holding up all of the appointments and everything. He also hasn't fired all the attorney generals, states attorney generals. That's something commonly done when presidents come in. But the deep state is still very much in place, and they are mounting their own resistance, as you said. The attorneys generals, the corrupt judges, lots of assistant United States attorneys, lots of corruption with all the federal agents. And the federal agents, it's not just the supervisors. It is right down to the rank and file working agents like I was, the GS-13s as well. So his point was it can be done much faster and much more efficiently by the state's attorneys general. Because
and that's the situation with the pardons, because the pardon was at a federal level, but the states can come in and right some of these wrongs if you have a good attorney general in place. And how many good attorney generals do you think we have right now?
Just a handful, not even half a dozen.
Yeah.
Right.
Really. And and even Pam Bondi is not releasing the Epstein logs because she's worried about him. So I don't know if you can see the letter, if you can put the letter up. So that brought up the effort that some of the attorney generals are trying to do. They're asking about Fauci. And of course, when I was talking to Mark, it was all about Fauci, and we just picked Fauci because he's, of the villains, he's probably the worst mass murderer. He's the modern Mengelev. And so this is several attorney generals asking for information on COVID-19, the big PSYOP, and Fauci, because they'd like to indict him. This is headed up by Alan Wilson of South Carolina, but there's also the Attorney General of Tennessee, Florida, of course, Louisiana, Texas, Alabama, Idaho, North Dakota, Utah, Indiana, South Dakota, Arkansas, Montana, Missouri, Kansas, West Virginia, Nebraska. Unfortunately, Charity, we don't see Oklahoma on there.
Yeah, Gettner Drummond. I think it's time to put some pressure. And if you're watching and your AG is not on this case, I say that we talk about it. Now, I do have that clip up. If you want me to play
sure,
it. Sure.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, let's see. Okay. Here we go.
I know my state isn't going to be on that list anytime soon.
Okay, can you see it? Okay. So
people who have clearly violated the policies of the President of the United States. Unfortunately, I'm not an employment law lawyer, although we do have employment lawyers at our firm. But there are certain employment rules, some of them passed by Congress, about how you terminate career bureaucrats. And they, without revealing anything that, I'm just a citizen journalist just like you. I sit back and I look at what's going on. I don't have any inside information or anything like that. But what it appears to me is that they are pushing as fast as they can to remove as many people as they possibly can who are fighting the president's agenda. He has gone through past executive orders dealing with reclassifying people who are involved in policy making, making them into positions so that they can be more readily fired if they, violate the president's agenda, if they're actively fighting. Rome was not built in a day, and this mess that has been created over the last, the last great president who really understood the Constitution and the frameworks, I often say, is Calvin Coolidge.
Really? Wow.
He personally would sit down every night and go over the budget with his Treasury Secretary. He literally blind item the budget with his Treasury Secretary. He's a silent cow. There's a lot of stuff about him that people just don't understand. But since yeah, there was stuff that Wilson did. There was stuff that, there's many years of bad policy that's built in to where we are today. And Trump is not going to overturn it all overnight. He's done a lot in the last 3 weeks. And we see by the hysteria from the talking heads, from the socialists in Congress and the Senate, that he's hit a nerve.
And by the way, so the buyouts are a really good idea, right? Because if they take the buyout, then that's it. They can't bring lawsuits later. They can't do anything. They're done. It's a smart. I thought it was a real smart idea when I saw it.
Yeah, and so the thing is, be patient, Grasshopper. Be patient.
There you go. That's the clip.
I know we would all like.
Well,
he's doing kung fu, David Carradine, way back. For those of you who are young that don't know the show, be patient, Grasshopper. But that brings the whole point. Then is if there are states attorneys general that are willing to prosecute them, then what came up with Team America, and Team America is my organization, which you can always join at jeffreyprather.com. And Team America is just Americans relying on Americans and God, just like when we started, not corrupt government in DC, just like we stopped relying on corrupt government in Britain. And there's no 501c3. It's all volunteers, talented people all across the country. And we are the resistance. And I know you talk about the resistance too. So it's very similarly, our missions are very similarly aligned to the
in some
the
states
brigade.
we work together. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we work together. Sure, you're on Team America,
Right.
But at our last Team America meeting, and we did a lot for Arizona integrity, election integrity. We did a lot, and we were seen internationally, but you just didn't know it was us because the nature of my work is low profile. So it's not like most organizations. But when we saw this at our last headquarters meeting, where we invite the team leaders and the headquarters staff, everything slowed down after the election. Everybody took a breath, took a break. They've been working so hard. And again, we were the prepared resistance. If Harris got in there, then really Team America would really come much more to the forefront than other more overt organizations that would be repressed very easily. Like I told Jeremy, not to go to DC, and certainly not in camouflage. He's in an urban environment, so wear the camouflage appropriately. But anyway, we are looking at this as a Team America state by state mission to help the state's attorneys general organize and get the packets to prosecute Fauci. And so that means building political support for the attorneys general. That means identifying the investigators, which are most likely the state's attorneys general special agents. I was a DEA special agent, but there are also state special agents that could work on this. And so, but this is, I talked to Charity offline about this, and I said, this is really more of a brigade's mission. This is a very overt mission. So, we want to collaborate, Team America and the brigades and Tom, and Mark will advise. He's not going to get involved directly, but he's too busy, but he'll take my calls and advise. So and some of our teams we have, I'm not going to say here, but we have some ins to some attorneys general. And then Charity and I have done some work with some attorneys generals as well. So the idea here is to get the word out, to build your groups, where Team America has support. So I'll tell you where this is happening. Obviously it's happening in Oklahoma. It's happening in Florida. It's happening in Louisiana. It's happening in Missouri. Right off the bat, those states of Team America are putting together their CONOPS, their concept of operations right now. What does that mean? That means, okay, here's what we want to do. We want to assist our state attorney general to prosecute Fauci. Okay, then how do we do that? Okay, well, we build political support. We identify who could be the investigators. We put investigative information packets together for those investigators, because if you don't know, attorneys are really lazy. Attorneys generals and AUSAs are very lazy. They want the Coke in one hand, the cash in the other, and some snow on the nose. They want it all packaged as much as possible. So that is why really I wanted to come on today and talk about that, to coordinate and put this out to your audience, because your audience doesn't necessarily watch me. And then I'll have you and Tom on tomorrow for my audience and Team America, because I think this is a really good time, peacetime. We're still behind enemy lines, much less so. But, and of course, we can't do this in all of the states. Can't do this in California, but that's the idea for what I'm saying we could and should try and do. Does that make sense?
Yes. I mean, and this is like, we've been saying that the fight has really just begun. We've all been in this fight for freedom for a long time, some much longer than me, but for the last 5 years, I've been screaming and doing everything I can to try to save our nation. For my children, for the future. Right. We've been talking about Trump gets in, great, but that's not the end of it. You don't get to sit back and go, oh, he's going to do everything for us. With these pardons, if you want Fauci's head, which a lot of people in the movement have joked that if we can get Fauci's head, Andrew needs to be the one to get it, because I've been saying for the longest time, he's the one. I mean, Dr. Fleming, had told me, he's like, I think we need to let Andrea in the front of lines if we can actually get this guy. She's the one that wants to punch him first. If I could, I mean, well,
as a chaplain and as a former special agent, this is not about revenge. This is justice. This is about justice. Because if we're going to have a one-tier justice system again, then you have to get rid of the two-tier justice system. To get rid of the two-tier justice system, those most egregious of it have to be brought to
We need accountability. We need accountability. We need justice. And the big thing we've always said is never again. Do not let them do that to us ever again. The only way we can ensure that they never do it again is to get justice and accountability for those who did it to us.
Right. And there may be, and so the other thing is, like with Bondi not releasing, I've heard that, I've seen the Epstein logs to a large extent, but I've heard that Trump may be on one of those as a John Doe 174 or something. I have not corroborated that. I do know Trump threw Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago when he hit on a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah.
But again, and I just wrote a Substack on this too. Corey Mills and Eli Crane, whom I know, former SEAL, Arizona. Corey Mills is a former airborne, Florida. They just held a assassination panel about Butler. And they said, hey, we need some whistleblowers to come forward. Why? Because we don't have subpoena power. Why don't they have subpoena power? Because the system doesn't want them to have subpoena power. Because Butler, it's clear, and they wouldn't say what I've said, and they wouldn't say what Tucker said. It's clear who was trying to assassinate Trump. It's the deep state. It's the intelligence agencies. It's the CIA and the Secret Service. Nobody else could do that. Just like who bugged the Resolute desk with sand grain sized bugs? Who has that capability? The CIA, the NSA. It's the deep state doing it, but they won't even say it because they're still in the system.
I know. You bring up Bondi. A lot of people have been bringing up Bondi and how they would like to see her being a little bit more aggressive and tough. And so what were your guys' thoughts on the whistleblower talking about them destroying the information within the FBI?
Oh, yes. I know Garrett. I know Garrett. I've had him on the show. I'm going to have him again. They're doing it 24/7. I can guarantee you they are 24/7 burning and shredding right now.
Why is Dan Bongino and Patel and Trump not there? Like, how do we not protect these things right away? How is this happening?
So what has to happen is, and I've done this many times, is so you have your case, and your case originates where maybe a walk-in informant comes in or something, and you follow up, you do some investigative surveillance on somebody, so it looks good. You open a case file, and then you collect enough information to swear out an affidavit and say, here's my experience. I've got 19 years on the job. Here's what I know. And then from that, you get a warrant. And from that warrant, you would then execute that warrant with a very specific description. And who you execute against? You have to execute against FBI headquarters. Yeah, and you execute off and not even the headquarters, but all the offsites, so nobody of seriousness is at CIA headquarters because everybody watches CIA headquarters. It's all the offsites that they are destroying all this stuff on all the time. And so who's going to execute that right now? Because Pedo Joe has been inserting Joe's Pedo Praetorians for the last 4 years. Who do you have to execute all this stuff? Well, they don't. What they should do, and some people have said they want me to go. Mike Adams and George Webb are like, Jeff Prather needs to go back in there, and my family's like, no way.
I vote for that.
but take the attorney. You could deputize, task force the state's attorney general special agents and go in there today. And kick those doors and grab those files and freeze everything. But they are not.
Cash was moving personnel. I saw it was like something like 200 people out of DC to like another office.
Well, moving personnel, they take the files with them on the way out. The problem with Cash and Bongino and these guys are too much of star figures. They're not operators. They're not agents on the ground enough. It's cool to talk about before Congress or before even a panel, but you need guys kicking those doors right now and saying, freeze, put your hands up and put those files down right now and seal this shit up. It should all be, that should have been done immediately, because I guarantee you, I agree with Garrett, and Garrett also agrees with me on another point. The FBI is not a law enforcement organization, and I graduated from the FBI Academy in 1990. The Special Agent School was in there. The FBI is an intelligence organization with law enforcement functions. That's its cover. Yeah. That's its storeroom cover. So, the evidence is being burned right now.
Offsites, because you said that they're destroying all this evidence in the offsites. Is there any way that we could ever know where all of that is? Are they going to be able to hide that? I mean, surely right now they're already burying that, right? So,
we need whistleblowers coming forward, and we need informants. But the Office of Special Counsel. So when they came after me, I went to the Office of Special Counsel and said, "Hey, DA OPR is after me," and they're like, "You're right." And then they went, "No, you're wrong," because they got bought off. Office of Special Counsel has which is Congress's investigative agents body, but they're very small. They're not experienced. Becoming an 1811 criminal investigator, I was a GS-13. That's the journeyman grade. That's when you know your stuff. You've been around. You know how to run Title III wiretaps. You know what you're doing. You can run an informant because they start out as GS-7s or 9s. The FBI starts out as 10s. And then you move up as you work cases. The Office of Special Counsel is not particularly experienced. They are very small, and they're that way on purpose. And that's why the FBI is so corrupt, because there's no one to investigate it, really. But my answer would be, first of all, my attorney general would have been Ken Paxton. I would have chosen Ken Paxton. He's taken on Pfizer. He's taken on everything. And I would get Texas Rangers and the Texas Attorney General special agents cross-deputized and kicking in the doors of the FBI and seizing everything.
Well, and what we saw in DC, I was writing about Hillary's favorite software that she used to bleach all of her drives. That was soaring in DC. Okay. So I was joking that, she's making that company so much money because all the corrupt
CrowdStrike
rats, in DC were using that software to bleach all of their computers. And then you see the housing market, all this. It's like you see the swamp draining, you see the rats running, but it's infuriating to the American people because I was covering it on a lot of different social media platforms for a lot of my clients, the whistleblower information about the FBI guys, and they're burning these documents, destroying and bleaching things. And everyone's going, no, this can't happen. Like you said, like we need to be more proactive, because so much of this is they're doing it right in front of us, and it's like they're just laughing in our faces.
Well, and that becomes a criticism of Trump, although Trump's done a lot of good stuff, is too many press conferences, too many. For example, if you look at the Gaza ceasefire, there is no ceasefire.
Yeah.
The Israelis are still killing all the Gazans.
Yeah.
And Trump just gave him more money and more bombs. And there was supposed to be a big ceasefire. So is this going to pan out? We don't know yet. We don't know whether the king's rule is going to be applied. You know, the golden rule is who's got the gold makes the rules. The king's rule is kings don't kill kings, or kings don't prosecute kings. But we can influence, but we know Trump is influenceable. Pedo Joe didn't care at all, but we know Trump does. He likes the public adulation. And so does, I think, Putin. I think so does Musk. But I think by getting the brigades and Team America focused on the state levels to assist, and how that works. And now I'm kind of talking to your brigades and my Team America, and we'll talk about this again tomorrow, is you get your team together in your state, and first you look at your attorney general. If the attorney general is not on the list, then you ain't doing it. Unless you think you've got some kind of in. If your attorney general is on the list, then okay, what can we do? Do we have an in, or do we just start public pressure, or what? And then you start to figure out then what's the investigative body that we would want to assist to build the case against Fauci. And, you know, because all this, you both know this, because we know all the doctor whistleblowers. It's not a matter of they don't have the stuff, but we've got the stuff, right?
Well, Deborah Birx was just publicly saying just a week ago, just outright saying that they were wrong, and they knew they were wrong, and they continued with it anyway. I mean, she's pretty much
that's the corruption.
committed.
That's the level.
He's been caught lying multiple times. Like
they're all on videotape line. Fauci's on videotape line.
Yeah, there's blood on their hands, and that's why we're talking about the accountability. But what you're talking about is if we want to help Trump, like what I love about the awakening that we've been witnessing over the last 5 years since COVID really woke up a lot of people to the point that if you don't get off your butt and get involved with the brigades and Team America and do something in your community, like General Flynn says, we're still going to lose the country. Right. Trump can't do it himself. He needs us to fight at a local level. Yeah. And when it comes to these pardons, you have to fight at a state level. If you want accountability for Fauci, you can actually be part of getting that, but you have to get off your butt and get involved.
Okay, so the action item we're talking about here. So the current leaders, you're watching this. I will also make sure that the leaders see this and make some phone calls. They're the state leaders for the brigades. But then if you're watching this and you don't have your state organized, you know that you want to get your attorney general involved, go to freedombrigades.com and join us. There's a place in there when you join that it allows for commentary. Say you want to talk about the attorney generals, and we will contact you and see what we can do to help you. This is how we fight, is together, and by pushing back. And that's the only way we're going to win, is by doing this together. And so there's your action item. That's what you can do, and we'll help you.
Yeah, I mean, I love that, because for the longest time, I mean, a lot of the apathy in America is sad and scary because we've seen the corruption. So people get apathetic. It's like they don't even want to go vote. Like Nevada, I'm in Nevada. A lot of the ranchers and the way my city's run pretty much with just like Las Vegas control, people are like, why do I even vote? You know, the corruption is so profound. People get apathetic. But with this, it's like now that Trump's in office, like you said, there's a lot of good things, but this is just the beginning of the fight. This is now the time that we all have to rise up and get involved on a local level and a state level to help Trump and Team America finish the deal, like win the victory. Like we have to do this at a state level. Yeah. And so I'm hoping people care about those votes. Like get off your butt and vote too on things more than just the presidential election. Because as you can see, this is why it matters. This is why our Constitution was built the way it was.
Yeah, if you can share the screen, there's Team America where you can join. And Charity, if you need to share your brigades link, you know, you should do that too. for people. So for example, Texas, we do not have a functional team in Texas, so we're not running ops in Texas. California, we don't have a functional team. New York, surprisingly, we do have a very functional team, believe it or not. Has done a lot on there. But I don't know if you've got your
so we go on every. Yeah, absolutely. And while you do a sec, before I go into that, I do want to say that Andrea had made a comment about wanting you back in working with the FBI and the CIA. And while I would really love that, I'm also friends with his wife, and I have to answer to her. So I do have to be better staying behind the camera.
Yeah.
I don't want to get a phone call later, right?
No, it started with George Webb and Mike Adams and stuff on Twitter, and they're like, yeah. I mean, because if I was asked, of course, I would have a hard time saying no, but I would not go back as a working agent. I'm not worried about getting my year of retirement. I'm way past that because I was fired 1 year. I was fired 1 year from retirement with never a bad evaluation, all outstanding evaluations, never convicted, never charged.
I did want to say, so we had Dr. Sherry Tenpenny on last week, and her assistant called me today, and she is putting out some protocols and video information that you can go. Do you have the link on the bottom there? I will put this up on the website. I'm really excited about it. You can get supplements directly from Dr. Sherry Tenpenny and her educational series. If you use the promo code Brigades, you're going to get 15% off. We need to remember, so here's the Brigades website. As you guys know, you go to freedombrigades.com and sign up. It is important that we are mindful with our money, right? We are all in a fight, and it just matters. If you are going to fund freedom, and you are going to buy from the big box stores, then you are going to buy stuff that is hurting you. You can get clean products that are healthier like here, you can get free, not free, you can get, free of mRNA, free of antibiotics, not poisoned beef right here. We've got the Parashield. This is what Dr. Sherry Tenpenny was talking about last week with the detox pack. But Jeffrey, this was something your wife turned me on to a few years ago, this My Liberty box. And they partner with the Patriot Switch. It's the same company. They just operate under a couple different names. But instead of going to Walmart, I get these products from My Liberty box that comes every month. It's products that do not kill you. And it's healthier while you fund freedom. You're getting a better product. It's just smart. But we have deals here for you just for the Brigade members. So go to the shop tab. We want to give a shout out to Tom Renz. If you go and click on the Tom Renz tab right here, you can go and catch up with all his stuff. Don't forget our friend Ibn Ali, who's usually with us, has just put a book out with Muhammad Ali, his nephew, and some quotes from him, and it's help you to get to your great goals. What has God asked you to do in life, and help you find the greatness within yourself. So you guys go to freedombrigades.com. As we are in this war, you can fight back with 4 hours a month of your time through the Freedom Brigades. Just 4 hours a month if you fight with other freedom fighters, because that's how we're going to take it back as together. So final words from the great Jeffrey Prather.
No, thanks for having me. And I'm really honored to be on and honored to be working with you ladies. And I think this is a very doable mission. Frankly speaking, since Trump got in, we calmed down at Team America, but I think this is a very doable and manageable mission that really may not happen without us. I think that was really what I'm saying. So encourage everyone to really get involved. How we got here is because we delegated everything out to everybody else, and we cannot do that again. And so thanks for having me, and looking forward to working with you ladies some more.
Let's get Fauci. Get involved, everybody.
Right.
Justice.
Thanks, guys.
All right. See you next week.